buying a shed to live in and buying an actual tiny home to live in. This will be a 3-part video series. Now this one here, now would this be considered a shed or a tiny house?
A log cabin that is not code compliant. So it's just a weekend getaway, not a legal residence.
Here, let me see if I can get my buddy to say that again.
So this is a log cabin. It's not a legal residence. It's not really a shed. It's just kind of a halfway in between something. That's something to put down at the lake to spend the night, spend a weekend.
So it's like going camping.
That's right. It's not a legal residence.
All right. So I'm going to pan down through. I'm going to show you some of the stuff he's got sitting out. Some of it's absolutely beautiful. Some of these are sheds. I'll be introducing my buddy Micah here in just a moment. And we've already picked out a building to sit down and shoot this video in. But I wanted to show you all. Everybody sees these and they go, oh, I can live in this. I can do this. You know, it's a little small, but I can do this, that, or the other thing. And then when you buy it and you get it, you haul it to wherever you're going, then you find out you're not code compliant. Then you just spend a whole bunch of money for something you cannot use for the purpose that you bought it for. So we're going to go in this this one right here. I thought this was the cutest one. And of course this, you know, they're all jammed in here just like when you go to the car lot. But we're going to hop in here and ask some questions and talk over some stuff and hopefully get you all some good information on purchasing a code compliant structure. So when y'all hear me talk about Masterbuilt, this is Micah Mast. He is one of how many brothers and sisters?
There's 5 of us brothers, and I have 3 sisters.
And no, they're not Amish. They are Mennonite.
That's correct.
Let me see if I can flip this. Nope, they're gonna make me shoot it sideways. I hate all these new things on YouTube. Let me see here. Well, no reason for you to be looking at my hand. So let me set this up and we'll get started. So, you know, originally when I first moved to Crossville, Micah built me a what size structure?
It was a 16 by 48.
Was it code compliant?
Not quite. Not quite.
I thought it was.
So it wasn't on a foundation, so
Well, you're right.
it was not code compliant.
And so you got to put it on a real foundation to make it code compliant?
That is correct. And the answers I'm going to be giving you today are specific for Tennessee. Every jurisdiction has its own set of rules and its own, every jurisdiction can make its own laws. And
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, which is where I live, that's the laws that I know. And so in the state of Tennessee, legally, to meet code, it does have to be on a traditional block foundation, 2 or 3 blocks high, at least 18 inches high, and it has to have concrete underneath it and then blocks laid up on top of that, and the building set on top of it.
Why is that?
Well, it's more secure. You have less issues with shifting. Can you just set it on blocks? Yes, but it will settle. You're going to have, over the next 10 years, you're going to have about, if you just set it on blocks, on the dirt, you're going to have about 3 or 4 inches of settling as the building settles down into the dirt. For a shed, to put your lawnmower in, fine, that's great. No problems. But for a house that you're going to live in, you're going to have issues. Your doors are going to not always line up. You may have to do some shimming. In extreme cases, I've seen where water pipes would bust, where you've got too much settling, and so your water pipes would bust.
That's when you see people start jacking them up.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You know, I'm looking around and, you know, I've talked about you guys for a long time. And everybody knows I only talk about people that I have some type of relationship with. If I think you're building junk, then I wouldn't be sitting here because it's your reputation and mine. How many years have you all been in business to do this?
So, well, that goes way back. My dad started selling sheds on this property here in Cumberland County in 1970, 71. So just a little over 50 years, 54 years. Yeah, and that was before I was born.
Yeah, not me. And so as time went, I mean, your business has progressed from sheds to, you still build sheds, but more people like me are coming in and saying, hey, build me a 14 by this or a 16 by that, and they're wanting to live in them. And we've talked about this several times, that it's not cheap to come in and buy like a 16 by 48, but it's a whole lot cheaper than buying a house. And then it's a whole lot cheaper to finance Masterbuilt's house versus a conventional.
So back to your first question, I'll tell you a little bit about our journey. So Dad was a contractor, and he was in partnership with several guys, and they were framing houses, they were building houses, and they started doing these sheds in 1970, 71. They built the sheds just on the side, on rainy days when they couldn't be pouring concrete and framing houses. And so the shed end of the business kept growing until finally Dad was tired of building houses, and in the early 80s we spun off the framing, the house construction part of it, and went full-time with sheds. And interestingly enough, at that time, Dad was building a very simple shed, very small, just a place to put your lawnmower and your four-wheeler. Nothing fancy. But as time went on, Dad got into building bigger sheds, and so more and more people would come in and say, hey, I think I can live in that shed. And so after a while, we were building little houses again, basically sheds with some windows in it and some doors. And people could live in it. So it kind of came full circle. Dad got tired of building houses, built sheds, and it's kind of come full circle. Now you have people wanting to live in their sheds.
Well, now, there's several of you that work here, right? A dozen, 2 dozen guys?
There's 7, 6, 7.
And you all are always building something for somebody.
Absolutely.
So when did Masterbuilt become Masterbuilt?
So the trade name Masterbuilt, was adopted in the 90s sometime, I think. I don't know. I was not involved with management at that time. So
Right.
I would have to ask my older brother. He was the manager at the time. So
Okay.
they had been in the 90s sometime.
Well, I just want people to know that you're not some yahoo building in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time in all my videos, I think the world of you guys. And I've had people say, are they Amish? And I say, no, they're Mennonite. Well, what's the difference? I have no idea. One rides in a horse and a buggy, the other one drives a Ford. That's about all I know.
Yep.
But now that we got all that out of the way and kind of got some history in here, what is really the main, or what are the differences in buying a shed to buying, I guess what we'll be talking about is like a tiny house. But some of those are right up there in house size, right?
So, not particularly, it's a good question, but technically speaking, the legal term tiny house is abused quite a bit. Legally speaking, a legal tiny house is 399 square feet. Once you hit 400 square feet, it no longer qualifies as a tiny house. So the code book, the International Residential Code book, actually has a section that is specifically for anything under 300 or under 400 square feet.
So you boys are building houses.
Hey, that is exactly right. Most of the tiny houses that we're building are technically not tiny houses. Mostly what we're doing is 500, 600, 700, 1,300 square feet. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
technically, yeah, people come in asking for a tiny house. Most of the cabins, houses, cottages that we're doing are bigger than
you're building houses.
that is correct.
I mean, we can dance around it, and I always call them tiny houses because that's where they build sheds. You say that,
I know, yeah.
But you're building homes,
Yeah.
and then you're putting them on a flatbed like a Clayton home, mobile home. And now you're starting to marry them together just like a mobile home, right?
Well, so there's a major difference between a Clayton home is once it has a steel frame under it,
Yeah.
it falls under HUD code, HUD, the HUD code, and that is its own, it's own thing.
Yeah, it's on them.
Yeah, they use a completely different set of codes than we do.
Right.
They don't have to have they don't have to have as much installation. They can use cheaper accessories like their outlets can be cheaper. There's just a whole lot of corners that they can cut that I can't.
So basically, in layman's terms, it's like they're building camping trailers.
Yeah, that's a good question, but there's yet another level for the RV industry.
Right?
Take the RV industry is the code on RV is R7 in the walls.
Yeah.
R7 insulation.
Yeah.
That's not much.
No, I live in one, I know.
So you know.
Yes.
Right. So the HUD code is better. It's a step higher, but once you get into the residential, the IRC, International Residential Building Code, that is yet another level. So the HUD code is its own. Once it's got a steel frame under it, it's its own.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that we're going to do a three-part series. The structure we're in, which is just a shed.
It's the shed.
Then we'll stop this one and get it started to upload. And then we'll be doing one on code compliant housing.
Okay.
And then if we have time today, we'll talk about the difference in windows and fasteners and doors and all the hardware.
Check.
And so we want to set this up. I want you to build it here, Micah, but we're sitting right on the highway, so I know y'all can hear the traffic going by. There's nothing we can do about it. We'd have to go out in a cow pasture to knock down the sound because his business is right on the state highway. But can you tell us a little bit about why it's a shed, what makes it a shed?
Yeah, good question. A shed is basically sheds. The shed industry started as a place to store stuff.
Yeah.
Store your lawnmower, store your extra clothes, stuff that doesn't fit in your attic, your grandma's, whatever. A shed is basically designed for storage. The building that you're in, you can pan around a bit.
Sure.
Building that you're in this is a 12 by 24, basically a storage shed, but it does have some nice features like, can you see
Yep.
this door?
Hold on a minute.
It's got a nice front door, full glass. It's got nice big windows. So this particular building is set up to use for, let's say, a home office or a pool house or something like that.
Because it's got electrical in the
You've
panel.
You've got electrical, you've got the light switch, you've got lights, you've got the wiring. it does have the corner nailers and the dead wood in the corners too, so it's ready to go to finish it out.
Right.
To use for, let's say, a pool house, something like that. But it's a heavy duty floor, but it's designed for things like a lawnmower.
Oily, greasy,
That's
nasty.
exactly right. That's what this floor is designed for. We use it, on this particular model, we use a 2x4 floor joist, and it's pressure treated, so you can keep it close to the ground, and it's not tall. Remember, if you're putting a lawnmower up into this, you're gonna wanna keep it close to the ground, so you
Sure.
don't have to have as long a ramp. So
Because a
this,
ramp's almost just as expensive as anything else.
yeah, you'll get hundreds of dollars into a ramp. So you don't want to use a 2x8 or a 2x12 floor joist on something like this. You want to keep it closer to the ground.
Now, is this vented
It is. Yeah.
besides the little
So
side vent?
You've got the gable vent up here.
Right.
You've got one of those on each end. Up the ridge, there's a screen across the ridge there.
Right.
And then the metal is flared. We use a flaring tool to flare the metal so the water doesn't siphon up into the ridge.
Right.
That comes standard.
And these corners here are called what again?
So, on a regular shed, you wouldn't need to do this, but since this one is set up to finish out, we put this extra dead wood in, so that.
And that's called a California corner or something?
California corner, I forget what that is. It's not a term we use around in Tennessee much.
Right.
The paneling here would come here and stop. This paneling comes here and stops here.
Okay.
So you've got that extra dead wood. If it's just a shed to put your lawnmower in, you don't need that.
Right.
Look up at the top. You see that we've put extra trusses in there to give you a nailer up in the top as well.
Right. I will say, but I haven't been around that many people build sheds. You all don't spare on the hardware, because I like looking here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nails.
Code requires 8.
It does it?
That's correct. The code book does specify 8 for that application. You might mention the plates up there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, boys and girls. Wait a minute. Let's find. There's one on the floor over here.
Right here.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a joint in the.
Whoa. Sorry.
Whenever there's a joint in the.
Yeah.
We'll put a steel plate across there to hold everything together.
So for you all that are wanting to know, I'll go ahead. You can pause that and read that when you want to. But I can tell you for sure, there's no ordering code. If you put Daddy Rabbit in, you will not get a discount. And I do not get a kickback, unfortunately. But those are just a lot of the main things that people will be looking at. What kind of floor is this?
It's called Performax. It's 5/8 inch thick. It's an engineered wood. It's made right here in Spring City, Tennessee. Its plant is 40 miles from the shop here, so it's a good local board. It's made with pine, but it has a lot of resins in it. Some of you may be more familiar with Advantech, Huber's Advantech flooring. Most of the new residential in this area, almost everybody uses Advantech. Advantech is a great product. It's got a lot of resin in it, and it stays really nice and straight. Advantech you can put down on the floor, and you can leave it uncovered. You don't have to have the roof on it for 500 days. The company will warranty for a year and a half, 500 days. And so contractors love it because you can put it down on the floor, and it's going to stay. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, we're shooting a video. Keep coming in. So you can put it down on the floor, and you can let it rain on that for a year and a half. This is the same product as Advantech, and go online and look up Advantech and take a good look at it. Great product. This is the same stuff off the same line, but they put this brown coating on it for the shed industry. It makes it a nice floor for, it's easy to clean up if you have an oil spill or
Right.
something like that. But it is the same thing as the Vantex.
So what about this Tech Shield stuff?
So that is made by Louisiana Pacific. It's a radiant barrier. If you look up at the top, it's an OSB, a 7/16 OSB with an aluminum laminated to the bottom of the OSB. It acts as a radiant barrier. We really like it. It helps keep the interior of a shed a lot cooler.
When you say a lot, you mean 2 or 3 degrees?
About 10 degrees.
Well, that's
It's
a lift.
substantial.
Yeah.
So when they came out with this, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I was skeptical. I looked at it and I said, I don't know, it's aluminum, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, they say it's NASA's reflective technology, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was a joke, but the manufacturer or one of the brokers wanted me to try it. I said, well, whatever. And they offered to give me a whole bunk of free
Yeah.
wood. I said, well, of course. So I tried it. We started doing side-by-side comparisons. And you put two identical buildings side by side, one with just regular OSB, one with this product on it, and there's about 10 degrees difference. Impressive product. And it's not that expensive. On this building, it adds probably, I don't know, it's less than $100. So I think it's a great investment. This particular building, you've noticed there's a few places where it was scratched. I got a shipment that had some imperfections.
Yeah.
The plant plant where this came out of, they did some retooling and they've got some of that straightened up.
So, I know a lot of places, a lot of businesses, they'll use the cheapest product and to make whatever. And I find that when people do that, then you're just absolutely buying junk. And now, listen, I'm not a carpenter and don't pretend to be, but I've been around here long enough to know y'all don't do that. Y'all seem to really care about your product and it's your name on it too.
That's our name on it. So,
And everybody in the county and probably surrounding counties know exactly who you all are.
so that's a good point. And to me, it's important what the building looks like when my client walks into it. So to me, it's important what my lumber looks like. It is increasingly more difficult to find nice lumber, and so I have to pay a premium for nice lumber. Most of this lumber, the framing lumber, most of our framing lumber we source out of Europe. Germany and Sweden is where most of this framing lumber comes from. This particular piece, I don't know where
So you import the foreign lumber.
That's correct. The nicest lumber comes from Europe. Sorry. I know. But Canadian lumber it just doesn't hold a match to.
Well, we're not buying Canadian because it's getting ready to be really expensive.
The problem is our American spruce the quality is terrible.
Really.
And we used to buy spruce out of or SPF out of Maine in New England states. It's awful. It twists and it's crooked. And I won't buy anything. I won't buy any spruce made in America. Sorry.
Well, at least you're honest about it. Well,
It'd be a lot cheaper.
yeah.
It'd be a lot cheaper to buy American, but it's not as nice.
And then the consumer gets screwed.
Yeah. So it's not as nice a product.
Well, in living here and knowing you guys, if I go to somebody's house or somewhere and there's a shed, I always look up to see if the Masterbuilt logo is on the building. And you can tell, and I'm gonna give you a compliment, is that the buildings that don't say Masterbuilt on them, they're trash. They really are.
Well,
And then I see your all's building and it's still standing tall.
that's a good compliment. Thank you for that. However, we've been in business for way longer than any of our competition, so I see some of our buildings out there that are 40 years old, and I'm like, oh, that's starting to look bad. It really needs the roof is shot, and so
But the people that buy from you, they keep coming back.
that's correct. They do.
I mean, that's your bread and butter, is your return customer,
That
right?
is true. Yep.
Well, for y'all that can't see it, I just swallowed some water that went up my nose. Is there anything else you'd like to add on this?
I would. So, what Rabbit was telling you at the beginning, as an imaginary customer, he's coming in and saying, hey, this is a nice shed, I could live in this shed. Could you live in this shed? Yes. And over the years, we've had lots and lots of people buy our shed, live in it, no problem. Here's where you run into issues. Cute, you can buy these sheds with porches on them, you can buy a shed with nice windows, you can buy a shed with nice doors, but it's a lot deeper than that. And I'm going to show you here in a minute some of the things that are important. So you buy this shed, and I see this happening all the time. A person will come to a shed lot, buy the shed, it's cute. They'll take it to the property and have it set up on blocks, level it, or put it on gravel, whatever. The truck driver goes home, and now you've got the customer that's happy, they're excited about this shed that they're going to turn into a house. Now, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to get power hooked up to it, right?
Yeah, that's what first thing.
First thing is you want to get power hooked up to it. So you go to the power company and you say, no, I'm going to need power to this building.
Yeah.
So what happens is the engineer comes out to see where to set the pole. He looks at it and he said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We can't, in the state of Tennessee, you cannot hook up power to a shed. They won't do it. And even in counties that are opt-out counties that don't have codes, they don't have building codes, they still will not hook up power to a shed.
Yeah, the only loophole I know of, and I'll say it so you know, is that you get a tent pole set and you tell them we're gonna build a house.
Now that's a problem. People do that. The
Yeah.
temporary pole is only good for 1 year. The second year, you can renew it, and so you get the second year out. At the end of the second year, supposedly they'll come turn it off. They don't always. So there's people that will leave it on for indefinitely.
Yeah. Eventually they get caught.
Eventually they will come out and turn that off.
Yeah, eventually.
Now there are other loopholes, and I can't tell you what they are.
It's for fifth wheels.
You didn't hear that from me.
Yeah, you can get a hookup for a fifth wheel. But the problem is, and correct me if I'm wrong, they only run it for a 50 amp circuit.
Now you can do 200 now.
Can you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The problem with that, and there's a lot of people that are doing that, buying a shed, doing that exact thing. Problem with that, it works for now. How long is that going to work? I don't know.
You better buy a fifth wheel.
That's where eventually.
Somebody will tell them.
Yeah. The biggest problem is going to be if you upset your neighbor. All the neighbor has to do is pick up the phone, call the codes department, say, hey, I've got a neighbor and he's living in a shed. By law, the codes inspector has to make a check. And if he finds that you've got your shed hooked up to a RV pole, to a temporary pole, he will pull the meter.
Yep.
So be kind to your neighbors.
Yeah, you can be very kind to your neighbor.
If you're gonna have a setup like that, you better be kind to your neighbors.
Yeah, be very accommodating to your neighbors. All right, so this is what we're gonna do.
There's a few things on point out though,
Okay.
when an inspector would walk into this building and say, you're gonna live in this? You gonna live in this?
Sure.
Rabbit?
Yep.
Okay. Rabbit, you're gonna live in this? He's gonna say, so, where's the house rack?
Yep.
There's no house rack. You don't need it for a shed.
No.
You don't want it for a shed. There's no house rack in it. Where's your hurricane ties? You
Yeah.
don't need it for a shed. That, you do need it for, he's gonna look underneath the building and say, where's your foundation?
Yeah.
Is there a foundation here? No. He's gonna say, your spans, what kind of spans you got here? Does it meet IRC? No. Up at the top, typical shed, the headers are not built real heavy. Is it fine for a shed? Yes. Does it meet code?
No.
So there's a lot of things about this building that would not, it won't meet code to live in for residential. Does it meet code for a shed? Yes, but not to live, not residential.
Well, of course, y'all know I don't edit ever. So, and this is, actually, we're doing good on time. We're only 32 minutes in. And see, the problem is, me and Micah, we enjoy chatting. So I'm purposely being quiet so we don't draw this out longer, because everybody's attention span is not that long. So this will be one video. I'm gonna let this one upload, and then we're gonna go to another structure on the property that is code compliant. We will come right back and go live again and go through why this is a better structure. And then, like I said, if we got time, I want to talk to him about windows and doors and all that. So I'm going to end this video here. If anybody's got any questions, put them in the comments. If you got any questions for Micah, I'll see that he sees them. And then we're going to go ahead and set up in the other structure and start this all over again. Because the reason we're even doing this is because tax time is coming. Times are tough, and people are trying to get out as cheap as possible, and we're both tired of watching people, for lack of better words, get screwed and spend a bunch of money, and then they can't use the structure. So I'm going to end this one, and in a few minutes I'll be live again, and if you want to come back and watch the second part, we'll be live probably the next 5 or 10 minutes.
I do want to make one comment, and exactly what Rabbit was saying. I see this again and again and again. People buy these sheds, put it out there, and they can't get power to it. And it makes me mad when you have
An investment.
Yeah, you have this cost, this investment that you have made, and you can't use it. And that's why I want to educate people so that when people walk onto our lot, wanting to buy a shed to live in, I make sure they understand what's required
Sure.
and what they're going to run into.
Well, I've ran into the same problem.
It's frustrating to me to watch other shed companies, and I don't want to badmouth anybody else, but I'm watching other shed companies that they just, if somebody walks onto the lot wanting to buy a shed to live in, they'll sell them a shed, knowing full well
They can't live.
that they won't be able to live in it.
Right.
And I don't think that's ethical.
No. And it might be somebody's life savings too.
It is. I have, right now, I'm working with an older couple, they're in their 70s, and that's exactly what happened to them. They spent most of their life savings on a shed from one of my competition, and they got it out there, and of course the inspector was like, there's no way, you can't live in this, it's a shed. So they resold the building at a huge loss. They lost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to be building one that is built to meet code, and it goes on a foundation. They're going to get it inspected. They can get power hooked up to it, and so if this little video helps somebody to understand the hows and whys, I want to, yeah, hopefully I can that can make sense to somebody. So.
Outstanding. All right, folks, so we're going to wrap this one up. We're going to move our chairs and get into the other building. Mikey said, you need a chair, and I said, I sure do, because I know how we talk. So, like I say, we should be back online in about 10 minutes. Anyway, folks, more videos coming soon. God willing, and the creek don't rise. That is my 2 cents. Please remember, your glass is always half full and never half empty. You keep praying for me, and I'll keep praying for you. I love y'all. Be back in about 10.